just, you know, golly, it's hard for student athletes because you would say put more effort into your recovery, right?
Mhm.
Or you would recommend those athletes trying to focus on their bodies more. But then, as a college athlete, you're not professional yet, so it's not your full time job, right? So then you're trying to balance a heavy class schedule, taking your girlfriend on dates and being involved on campus. So I think the pain point for student athletes is not only taking care of their body, it's finding the time to do that. You're limited to your treatment sessions. You're already in the field house for 40 hours a week. And that's not just football. We could talk about all sports, especially the Olympic programs that are playing. They have 2 to 3 days to recover, not a full week. Um,
Oh, or they
you're playing,
have multiple competitions and
or
travel.
baseball, you're playing double headers.
Oh,
Um,
hockey, college hockey.
it's insane.
Wow.
The demand never stops, right? Like as a college athlete, you're basically just putting miles and miles, and you're putting duct tape over your body to make sure, semi, I don't know, semi ready to play. But even when I played at Sanford, from day zero, or actually from the start of camp, right? I mean, from the camp to the end of the season, your body's never at peak performance ever again. Like you're always playing. Like our coach used to ask us, like, "Hey, where are you at right now?" And I'd be like, "I'm like 70%." Like I'm at, and then we'd had some players be like, the drama queens would be like, "0, coach, I'm at 2%. I can't even move." Right. So you have all these different I guess levels of performance, and Whoop technology these days are actually able to tell you where you're at. But we were just guesstimate. We were like, all right, we're probably close to it. Um, but I think that's why there's been such a push. You're seeing it, all over. It's being shared more and more. I would think in the college landscape, there's never been a higher emphasis on athlete recovery and athletes taking care of the bodies, from LeBron James to Patrick Mahomes to you name it. But that's why colleges are spending more money on recovery. That's why professional athletes, if they have the resources, are spending millions of dollars on rehab and recovery. They have their own PTs, they have their own body coaches, and it's because your body is your greatest. It's your greatest weapon. Like it's what's played on the field every day. So um, all that is a great landscape for why our technology has become so relevant, and is really becoming, when it comes to the athletic recovery space, one of the primary tools that these athletes are choosing, for their day-to-day recovery efforts.
I 100% agree. I mean, shoot, for our listeners out there, we'll link it in the show notes. But Jake, we've known each other for what, three? Like we're in year three
Almost
of
four
knowing
years.
each other. Yeah,
Yep.
4 years. Like I'm saying, like we've been working together from. Had him at Towson, swear by him for whether we were flying, whether we were driving, acute ankle injuries. Like it was, I'll tell you what, and like, listen, you can talk about the actual science behind it. I will also say, like, I've read a bunch of books about the placebo effect, and I'm not saying that the Firefly is a placebo. I'm going on
Every
record saying that right now.
technology,
But,
placebo effect.
like, I'm just saying there is something about when an athlete has an acute injury and you're like, hey, I got you. This is
Yep.
something that is going to help you and you can wear it a lot and like instantaneously. And then when I have the athletic trainer being like, hey, yeah, man, make sure you get your fire, like, there's something to that to make the kid feel like, okay, not only am I getting something that is going to help me, but I'm being told it and it does work, right? Like my wife and I were talking about this when we finished up our run today. Quick break from the show to remind you to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us out and it helps you be notified when we have new content get released. So, again, please hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy this content. And with that, let's get back to the show. Like ethically telling people to take things that you don't, and like, no, like this is something that I 100% agree in. And the kids, like, they would respect it. Like, I'll never forget, like, one of our punters, he got hurt. He got illegally run into in one game. He was our kickoff guy and our punter, not all American, all conference, but then transferred out and went FBS, went to the ACC, and he felt like he was being taken care of because it's like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm gonna make sure your plant leg feels good, like so. There's something to it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And the
What
portability is the biggest part. Like that's what you'll talk about. Like,
Yeah, and for the listeners out there, do you want me to kind of give a brief little overview of Firefly? And
Yeah, talk about the genesis. I mean, and again, so I'll link to our prior conversation for our listeners, but we've had Jake on before. Yeah, just talk about the genesis, a quick version. Like I said, I'll link it down so you don't have to go into as much depth because we've talked
yep.
about it on the show before. But yeah, just remind everybody, and I mean, shoot, remind me.
Yeah. So the origin story of Firefly is pretty cool because it started on the medical side, which is nice because when you talk about a recovery technology, we have all the clinical research, the FDA approvals, which is when it comes to when we get these in the hands of the athletic trainer, and the strength coaches, they want to know what is the background of the technology. This device Firefly is the over the counter or the consumer version of a medical device called the Gecko. The Gecko is FDA approved for preventing blood clots, reducing swelling, and healing wounds faster post surgery. So for those listening, if you've ever had lower extremity surgery, your parents have had knee replacement or any type of lower extremity surgery in the hospitals, they're a lot of times putting on what's called a sequential compression device, an SCD sleeve or an IPC sleeve. In our world, that's a recovery boot. So one of those space boots, leg squeezers, Normatex, Therabody, boots, whatever you're using for pneumatic compression. In the hospitals, they just call those SCD sleeves and IPC sleeves. It's one thing to be in a Normatec for 20 to 40 minutes, which is easy and it works and it's great. It's another to be put in a compression boot for 24 hours, 3 to 6 days post surgery. Nobody wants to do that, right? So,
No.
our founder, his name is Anthony Genstead. He's been in the medical distribution world for about 27 years. So basically, he sells products to the surgery centers to help with post-operative care, whether that's cold compression devices, whether that's wheelchairs, whether that's knee braces. It's just a bag of products that he sells to help with, the post-operative surgical care centers. One of the products he was selling was compression boots. So he was selling compression boots to the surgery centers to help with reducing, swelling and helping prevent blood clots. But he was constantly getting complaints from the surgery centers that patients weren't wearing them or tolerating them, right? So they'd be sent home with the leg squeezer and they'd wear it for 2 hours, take it off, and get a blood clot at night because they weren't wearing their compression boots. So the devices only work if you wear them. And therefore, Anthony was like, well, man, there's got to be a better option than these like giant leg squeezers that are, keeps people stuck in the bed. So he just did a good old fashioned Google search. He went to the website, typed in wearable portable DVT prevention. DVT is just deep vein thrombosis. And he found this product in the UK called the Gecko. It was winning awards for preventing blood clots, and it was the size of an Apple Watch. So he was really intrigued about how this little sticker for the leg could compete against these big pneumatic compression boots. And so, that was his first kind of interest in the technology, was just something that would be better for his patients. But when he flew out to meet with First Kind Medical, which owns the patent for the Gecko and the Firefly, what they figured out is that instead of massaging and squeezing the lower extremities to get that lymphatic return, you could actually modify the frequencies of a stem device. So for the listeners on the call, you're probably familiar with muscle stem, Mark Pro, Compex, Power Dot, Russian stem, E stem. There's a million types of stem on the market. But what the medical company figured out is that you could actually modify the frequencies to actually stimulate the nerve directly without fatiguing the muscles of the nerve. So instead of targeting a muscle group, they targeted the peroneal nerve, which the peroneal nerve starts at the top of the hips, wraps around the fibular head, and goes all the way down to the toes. And what they figured out is that when you comfortably and safely stimulate that nerve, the peroneal nerve actually controls the motor functions of the foot and the ankle. So what they figured out is you could put a little sticker, a little NMES device around the nerve. When you stimulate the nerve, it will cause the foot to dorsiflex or flutter. And so in our world, whoever's used Firefly before knows you get this little Firefly flutter. But in the medical space, it's basically just an ankle pump. So it's just a soleus pump. So if you're a strength coach or an athletic trainer, and you've had an athlete get injured and you've ever told them to go to the room, put their feet above their head and pump their ankle, all you're doing is moving blood. And that's what Firefly and Gecko are doing. So in layman's terms, instead of squeezing the lower extremity to get blood passively back to the body or back to the heart, you're using a stem to pump the ankle, and that in return is dynamically and systemically moving blood back to the heart for you. So it's really unique, but it's super simple, right? So pumping the ankle actually is 3 times more effective than massaging the legs in a compression boot. And that's clinical research. So the research on the Gecko and the Firefly actually shows that when you stimulate the peroneal nerve, Because that nerve runs the entire length of the leg, you actually increase blood flow from hip to toe by 400%, whereas pneumatic compression is 117. So in the medical world,
Taking a quick break from the show to talk to you guys about our sponsor, TeamBuildr. If you have any online training platform needs, TeamBuildr is the go-to place. TeamBuildr has the ability to integrate with velocity-based training tools. They have the ability to program and have notes and videos for all of your athletes and your clients. This is your number one stop shop. Been using it since 2019 when I was working at Towson. So I've used it, love it. Make sure you check it out. Go ahead, click the link down in the description. And with that, let's get back to the show.
it's 3 times more effective than the standard of care, which Anthony was obviously excited about. And the research is sound because they did speckle and Doppler radar actually showing the blood flow in the leg. They measured this extensively. And, if you look on our website or anywhere on our ads, you're going to see the word 400%. It's not a number we made up. It's actually a clinically validated number that was done in the medical world. So for those that are hating out there, like 400% blood flow, impossible, just check the research out. It's like we didn't come up with it. Yeah, it's that good. Anyways, Anthony, again, to start from the origin story, when Anthony realized that this product was flushing the lower extremities by 400%, and it was also increasing venous and arterial flow, which means you're just getting that systemic blood flow, it was having a huge effect not only on preventing blood clots, because, when it pulses the nerve, it prevents stasis, which means that blood is constantly moving. So it's pumping blood every second on the second, which in the medical world means it would be impossible to get a blood clot using the gecko. So it kind of clicked that box. But then secondarily, because it's flushing the lower extremity so efficiently, it was helping with the swelling and it was helping heal the wound faster. So Anthony he became the sole distributor for the gecko, which is the medical device. He brought the gecko to the U.S. and was selling the gecko to the surgery centers in California. The surgery centers in California were super excited because they had a product that was actually patient compliant. Patients actually worked. And not only that, but they were seeing swelling reduction like 3 times faster than their normal standard of care. So when they would send a patient home with total knee replacement, ankle surgery, knee surgery, hip surgery, it was a sticker. And I don't know if people can see my screen, but this is the size of the Firefly. I mean, when I say a sticker, it's an Apple Watch with no strings, no wires, no attachments. The Gecko is the exact same device. It's just all white and it says Gecko. But so compression boot, Firefly. It's a no-brainer. It's super portable, and the patients in the medical space loved it. Now, fast forward to how we have Firefly, Justin, is Anthony was never really in the sports recovery business. He was always in medical DME post-operative business, but he also did a lot of the bracing. So people on this call are probably familiar with the DonJoy knee braces that all the office linemen are wearing. Anthony started the DonJoy rep early on his career, and he became the go-to bracing guy in California. So he did like Shaquille O'Neal's knee braces. He did all the King's knee braces. So he was very plugged in to the physicians and the.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.